What is going on with the San Francisco 49ers? The Niners are off to a really ugly 1-2 start, and there are a lot of problematic trends with this football team that we're going to talk about on today's Niners Report. I'm Chase Sr. Thank you so much for being here with us. A lot of ground to cover, so don't go anywhere. First, let's start off with today's poll question. I want to gauge the temperature of this fan base. Are you concerned about the Niners right now? Y for yes. You see some of the problematic trends, or type N for no, it's a little bit too early. Sound off with what you think, and let's talk some Niners right now. I'm Chase Sr. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report, and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as always, I greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. I also appreciate Roan for making today's Niners Report possible. If you're looking to enhance your wardrobe and get some great menswear, like the shirt that I'm rocking right here, head to roan.com/chatsports. And when you use the code chatsports, you get 20% off at checkout. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. Let's start off with talking about 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy. What's so bothersome about this loss and why it irks me so much is that the Niners got tremendous performances from Brock Purdy in addition to Jawan Jennings. And everybody wanted to see how Brock Purdy was going to be able to play without all pros around him, and Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle. And I thought Purdy, all things considered, when you factor in the circumstances, played one of the best games of his professional career against the Los Angeles Rams. And now a lot of people are going to forget about that because the focus is on the choke job. The focus is on how San Francisco managed to somehow lose this game. But Purdy was able to elevate his teammates. He was a field general. He went through his progressions. He was accurate. We saw the return of the long ball. He was able to rebound off that shaky performance last week against the Minnesota Vikings. He was able to use his legs. And I just thought that Purdy yesterday against the Rams played his ass off. He was 22 of 30, 292 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, made good decisions with the ball. The one strip sack fumble that he did have, that was on Colton McKivitz, who's not a starting right tackle in this league. And when I talk about the ground game with Purdy, he had great pocket awareness, pocket mobility, but he made plays improvisationally out of structure, and that's such an underrated part of his game. 41 rushing yards as part of his stat sheet, and his passer rating was a 137. And when you go in depth on Purdy, 22% of his passing yards against the Rams were yards after contact. That is a career low. So Purdy, with expected completion over percentage, and with that number right here, continues to have to throw into some really tight windows. That's taxing as a quarterback, yet he continues to thrive. And with Purdy going 20 of 29, 6 or 7 of those passes were dropped, depending on which statistical department you look at as far as the database is concerned. He was also pressured a lot, which is why he had to make plays out of structure. 18 pressures on Purdy yesterday. He was sacked once, and I thought he navigated the pocket beautifully. And Purdy this year, when you look at his quarterback grade and quarterback efficiency, let's pop up this chart. Josh Allen is way atop the list, right? Purdy is number 2 so far through 3 weeks of play, and he was number 1 among all quarterbacks in the NFL on Sunday. Did he have some misses? Did he have some bad plays? For sure. Was he let down by 6 or 7 drops? The one, a crucial one by Ronnie Bell, who doesn't have a spot on this Niners team. If I'm the general manager, which would have put the Niners in a spot to kick a game-winning field goal, yeah, that was catastrophic. It was awful. And as far as the Purdy miss late in the game, I'm surprised that he didn't pull the trigger on this long ball to Brandon Ayuk. But the one thing I keep returning to is that Ayuk, his yards per separation, 3rd lowest in the National Football League. The on-field kinship and camaraderie that Purdy and Ayuk have been able to develop, that rapport, which has been so magical the last year and a half, it's simply not there to start the year. And I think Purdy and Ayuk just aren't on the same page right now, and that's a byproduct of Ayuk being a hold-in and not practicing alongside Purdy all throughout the summer. But I was surprised that Purdy, who is so decisive and usually always knows where to go with the football and gets the ball out on time, in rhythm, and can make quick trigger decisions, didn't pull the trigger on this throw right here. Because clearly you see Brock Purdy, clean pocket, looking at Brandon Ayuk here around the 40-yard line, and as I step to the side, there's not a safety within range of Brandon Ayuk. So if Brock Purdy throws this football, it's an easy walk-in touchdown. And so there will be misses throughout the course of a ball game, but outside of that, Purdy was near flawless. And you look at his throwing chart here, this is so impressive. The blue streaks are his touchdown passes, all to Jawan Jennings. The one in which he threw it downfield led Jennings in stride, and then the two others I thought were really good quarterbacking plays, one of which Purdy had to buy some time in the pocket, navigate the pocket, ran to his right, able to hit Jennings, who had a star-studded game. But with Purdy going 22 of 30 here for 292 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, the completion percentage over expected, 8.4%, another really good number. This is a quarterback who has total command of the offense, and he had command of an offense that was without Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and that's exactly what we wanted to see. So if you want to go glass half full on this Monday after what was an ugly, abysmal, inexcusable loss, the positive and the good coming out of that defeat is that Purdy rebounded from that Minnesota game, played great football, and anytime you have a quarterback who's playing at an elite level, it gives you a shot week in and week out. What's also surprising is that the Niners are averaging 3.1 yards after the catch per reception. That is last in the NFL. And that's shocking because Kyle Shanahan has done such a good job of drawing up plays and calling plays, which then leads to receivers being able to pick up yards after the catch. And from 2018 through 2023, the Niners were number one every single year, and no season was lower than 6.2. So that number this year nearly cut in half. And you look at the statistical figures here, this has always been a strength of this Niners offense. This year, though, if it's looked different and it's felt different as far as offensive efficiency and Purdy having to fit the ball into such tight windows, your eyes are not lying to you. Your eyes are not lying to you also if you think that Purdy has played at a really spectacular level through 3 games this year. And yes, he was a little bit shaky against Minnesota, had a couple of those turnovers. He was flustered by that Brian Flores defense, but he also made some good throws and some good plays in that game. And this is the whole body of work here. He's 4th among quarterbacks in QBR. He's 7th in completion percentage. He is 2nd in passing yards. Completion percentage over expected. He's 1st by nearly double. His yards per attempt, he led the NFL last year. This year, he's 2nd. His air yards per attempt, 9.5. That's 3rd. His passing touchdowns tie him for 7th. And his off-target percentage is 3rd lowest. So he's been very accurate with the football. This was his 7th game with 3 touchdowns and no picks, the most among any quarterback in the NFL since the 2022 campaign. So I think that Brock Purdy has been, continues to be a top 10 quarterback in the league during a time when I think that quarterback play is pretty vanilla, quarterback play is pretty mediocre, and quarterback play is watered down. I grew up watching Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and Aaron Rodgers. And when they were in their prime, they had total control of the line of scrimmage. They made consistent audibles. They mastered their offenses. They knew where they wanted to go with the ball, but they dictated what their offense did, but also dictated what the defense would do. And they were able to have full control at the line of scrimmage where they could audible and check out of things and into plays based upon what the opposing defense was doing. And we don't really see a lot of that mature, high-level quarterbacking play any longer. Joe Montana did it. Steve Young did it. But a lot of the quarterbacks around the NFL right now are not really doing that. And friend of the show, Jason Brown, of the Netflix series Last Chance U has talked about this, how quarterback play is at an all-time low because everything is predetermined right now. Everything is based on scheme and speed and spacing. That doesn't necessarily mean that the quarterback play is extraordinarily high right now. Yet, Brock Purdy does things in an elite way like those old school quarterbacks where he processes. He throws with timing and accuracy. He does know what the defense is doing, and he does know where to go with the football, not just based upon scheme. And some of the other things that he can do, obviously high-level traits, but that's why what Aaron Rodgers did last Thursday night really stood out to me because he's at the line of scrimmage, and he knows the defensive personnel, he knows the defensive scheme, and he's able to audible at the line, but he's also malleable where he could turn a handoff into a quick throw out to Allen Lazard to catch the defense off guard, and they don't know what they're doing. And then obviously the arm strength to get the ball to Garrett Wilson on that tight window throw where it's a little flick of the wrist and the ball comes out with velocity, that's special. But when it comes down to mature quarterbacking, we're not seeing as much of that this year. Brock Purdy can do that. And he plays the quarterback position in an old school manner, and I think that's really refreshing to me as somebody who loves that type of elite quarterback play where you understand the nuances of offensive football and defensive football, and you're able to have success, not just based upon stupid athleticism. And we see that a lot today where quarterbacks just try to get by with elite athletic traits and ran. As for Jauan Jennings, epic performance from him. 11 catches, 175 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And the Niners started him as an outside wide receiver. When Deebo Samuel comes back, I'm very interested to see what the Niners do here because Jauan Jennings is clearly a player. Obviously, he's not drawing the assignments from the number one cornerbacks on the defensive side of the football. That's going toward Ayuk. It's going toward Deebo. Sometimes the focus from the defense is on Christian McCaffrey or George Kittle. But it's clear Jauan Jennings can play. And he's probably the best wide receiver 3 in the game. And I know that the Niners like to use him in the slot because of the size that he possesses, posing mismatches, and you can exploit those mismatches. But I'd experiment with having Jauan Jennings on the outside, Brandon Ayuk on the outside, with Deebo Samuel in the slot. Deebo Samuel is not really a good route runner. He doesn't really get a lot of separation. He's more so used as a slot receiver on the outside, as a weapon, picking up yards after the catch, and I think that he would greatly benefit from lining up in the slot as compared to the outside because the Niners' passing game yesterday, especially to start the game, didn't it feel more organic? Didn't it feel more natural? To me, it did. Things came a little bit easier when Brock Purdy wasn't having to force feed his weapons the football. So Jauan Jennings, a great game yesterday, and unfortunately for him, the 2 career games that he's had in the Super Bowl and in this game against the Rams, the Niners have blown those games, and they've come away with heartbreaking defeats. A lot more to get to here on the show, but first, be sure to hit that subscribe button because win, lose, or draw, we bring you daily shows on the Niners right here on the Niners Report with Chase Sr., yours truly. We're approaching 143,000 subscribers, so hit that sub button right now. Today's sponsor, our friends at Rhone. If you're looking for high-quality menswear that is not going to fall apart and it's going to be a part of your wardrobe for a really long time, but you'll look good, you'll feel good, and you want some versatility to what you wear, Rhone is your answer. We're talking dress shirts, polos, pants, shorts, stretchable and breathable fabric, durable, high-quality fabric. It has wrinkle release technology and odor-free technology. You never want to go on a date and you start stinking up the joint. You never want to go on a date where you look ill-prepared as far as how you look. That's why you have to go to Rhone.com/chatsports and use the code CHATSPORTS for 20% off your order. I wasn't lying when I said the material is very flexible and very breathable and very comfortable and high quality. Most importantly, it looks good. And as far as the versatility goes, you can wear these dress shirts untucked, tucked in, under a suit. And I also really like their shorts and their pants. I can wear this shirt specifically at work, on the golf course. You've seen me wear the button down as well. You have to check out what they have to offer because it will not disappoint you with how you look and how you feel, and it being a part of your fashion game. So go to Rome.com/chatsports, get 20% off your order when you use the code CHATSPORTS at checkout. We'll put that information down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. Let's round out the show with talking about some of the Niners' issues, because obviously Brock Purdy and Juwan Jennings were not issues for this football team against the Rams, and the problematic trends are on the defensive side of the ball and with special teams. This is why the Niners are a struggling football team right now. You look at all of the metrics, you look at all of the numbers, and your eyes don't lie to you either. San Francisco is playing like a mediocre and average football club. Their EPA rankings, offensively, they're second, but defensively, it falls off a cliff. 25th. Special teams, 23rd. And that number should be much worse if it weren't for Jake Moody getting off to a great start, and I know he missed that clutch field goal yesterday. Not a good look for the second-year kicker. This 49ers offense has been a solid team, but the defensive and special teams units have been putrid, and they've let this Niners team down time and time again. And these defensive rankings are not pretty, as it looks as though Nick Sorensen is in over his skis to start his career as a defensive coordinator. The Niners are giving up 23 points per game. That's 23rd in the NFL. They're surrendering 6.1 yards per play. That's 30th in the NFL. They continue to really struggle on third downs. They're allowing a third down conversion rate of 52.9%. That is 30th in the league. And they only have 8 sacks. That is 8 less than the Minnesota Vikings, who rank number 1 in the NFL. And so San Francisco is about middle of the pack. It shouldn't happen with this much talent on the defensive side of the ball. Keep in mind and remember that in 2021, this Niners defense got off to a rough start, and some people were asking for DeMeco Ryans to get canned. We now look at him as one of the best defensive minds in football, and he improved the defensive unit, and by season's end, they were clicking and one of the top units in the entire league. It's not to say that Nick Sorensen, after getting off to a slow start, can't turn it around. But right now, Nick Sorensen looks ill-prepared. He looks in over his head because what I'm seeing from this Niners defense is highly problematic. They can't pressure the quarterback. That's on the scheme. They can't get stops on third down. That's on the scheme and play calling. And the secondary play has been horrible. And this is a secondary that has a lot of talent, but there are communication issues on the back end. There are scheme breakdowns on the back end. And San Francisco continues to give up these explosive plays, which are inexcusable. And Kyle Shanahan has to put more of an emphasis on the special teams unit because the third phase of the game matters. But this Niners special teams unit is fraudulent, and it's nothing new. Kyle Shanahan even said, we knew a fake punt was coming. They came out with the formation to stop the fake punt, yet they still gave up the fake punt and fourth down conversion, and that changed the game because it gave the Rams belief. As for some players who I don't need to see any longer, Devondre Campbell is a cooked product. Nick Sorensen can't continue to play him. He's not a coverage linebacker, yet Nick Sorensen is asking him to cover. And yesterday against the Rams, he gave up a perfect passer rating at 158.3. He had the back-breaking pass interference penalty. He gave up 3 catches on 3 targets for 53 yards. Isaac Yiadom analytically last year had a really good year with the New Orleans Saints. He has killed this team at cornerback, especially the last 2 weeks. He gave up 5 catches on 5 targets for 52 yards. He gave up a passer rating of 110, and he had a bad pass interference penalty. The Niners have to look elsewhere for answers because right now they're not getting solutions or answers to the problems from Isaac Yiadom or Devondre Campbell. And Ronnie Bell, can his snaps please go to Jacob Cowing? I don't think that Jacob Cowing drops that perfectly placed football from Brock Purdy downfield, which would have given the Niners the ball around the 20-yard line, a chip shot for Jake Moody. They would have won the ball game. But that wasn't just the only drop for Ronnie Bell. He had one earlier and throughout the preseason. He couldn't catch the football. Ronnie Bell has the yips right now. Can't catch the rock, and he doesn't deserve to have a spot on the 53-man roster. What, he can block? So what? Can he catch the football? Not when it's thrown to him. And the sample size is out. He had a good training camp last year as a rookie. He made the 53 as a 7th-round pick. Good for you. what have you done for me lately? Because this year, he's done nothing but hurt the San Francisco 49ers. Same could be said for Colton McKivitz. He gave up 6 pressures against Minnesota, 5 more against the Rams. That is 11 pressures given up the last 2 weeks. Colton McKivitz is not a starting right tackle in the NFL. He's definitely not a starting right tackle for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. He gets bullied. He's slow. He's not physical. He's not fast enough. He's not a good enough run blocker. Not a good enough pass blocker. He's going to get Brock Purdy killed back there. And Brock Purdy this year has already been under pressure way too much because of Colton McKivitz. The first third down of the season, Quinnen Williams blew right up by him, right? Against the Minnesota Vikings, Colton McKivitz was a revolving door. And against the Rams, not better. 11 pressures given up the last 2 weeks? How does that happen? And then Trent Williams has not played well the last 2 weeks either. He didn't give up a pressure week 1 against the Jets. You're thinking, this guy, he's an alien. Just started practicing the week prior. But the last 2 weeks, he's given up 7 pressures. Very rare for him. Jake Brendel, just not a good enough center. Aaron Banks is solid. Dominic Puni, solid. So those are positives along the offensive line, but a lot of negatives here. And while the defense and the special teams unit, they're big reasons why this Niners team is where they are right now, Niners offensive line continues to be shaky. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. A lot of the short form content that I put up on the social media pages really blowing up these days. So if you want even more Niners content or you want to say what's up, give me a follow over there. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.